Stop, sir. Step aside for a quick extra screening.
On what grounds? The detector didn't beep. Explain.
Random secondary check. Standard procedure. Cooperate.
Then say what policy you're using. On camera.
You can record if you don't interfere. This is randomized screening, not based on race.
Funny how random keeps picking me. Why do you hate black people?
The metal detector didn't chirp. The X-ray belt didn't pause. Still, the secondary light flashed on the lane monitor, bright enough to turn a routine Tuesday into a career-ending decision. The bodycam view sits on a male airport police officer's chest. Slight wide angle, a faint hiss of compression, the steady rise and fall of breathing. Fluorescent panels wash the polished floor in cold reflections. Stanchions snake travelers forward, blurred suits and rolling luggage smear past in the background. Front and center is a black man in his mid-30s, about 6'0", athletic, medium-dark skin, close-cropped hair, trimmed beard. He's dressed like someone who values comfort and control, dark hoodie under a light gray bomber jacket, jeans, clean sneakers. His jaw is tight, but his hands are open at chest level, palms visible, frustrated, not reckless. To the right edge of the frame stands another officer, a white woman, early 30s, blonde hair pulled into a tight bun. She doesn't speak, she just watches, neutral as a clipboard. HUD overlays blink. Rec Black Circle 5:58 a.m. 6/3/2025. Battery 78%. ID APD-12. The male officer keeps his tone procedural, trained calm, no extra emotion, no room for debate. Officer, sir, I'm going to need you to step aside for additional screening. The man exhales through his nose, eyes tracking the lane behind him where 3 passengers, white, business casual, walk straight through without a second glance from anyone. Man, on what grounds? The detector didn't alert. Explain the cause. The officer gestures toward a waist-high gate marked secondary inspection, the kind of place most people only see if they've been unlucky or loud. Officer. It's a random secondary check, please cooperate. The man doesn't raise his voice, that's what makes it dangerous. He's controlled enough to make every word land. Man, then state the policy you're following on camera. The female officer's eyes flick to the bodycam, then back to the man. Still silent, still present. The male officer's posture stays squared, textbook, but the micropause is there, the half-second where he decides whether to improvise or to do this the right way. Officer. This is a randomized secondary screening under our security protocol. Selection isn't based on race. The man's brows lift just slightly, like he's heard that sentence too many times and memorized the cadence. Man. Then why does it keep happening to me? Is this because I'm black? A couple of travelers slow down. You can feel it in the frame, the attention pulling toward the scene like gravity. A phone comes up somewhere behind the stanchions. Officer, no. If you feel you're being treated unfairly, you can request a supervisor and file a complaint. For now, let's complete the screening. The man nods once, sharp and deliberate, and steps toward the marked area, still keeping his palms visible, still making sure everyone can see he isn't the problem here. He stops at the threshold and turns his head back toward the officer, voice low but clear. Man, before we do anything else, I want your name and badge number. The officer doesn't answer immediately. And in that small gap, the entire airport feels like it holds its breath. Because both of them understand what's really being negotiated now. Not a search, but accountability. The officer's hand hovers near his nameplate like it's a checkbox he'd rather not tick. The bodycam catches the micro-hesitation, then he forces it back into professional. Officer Miles Kellen. Badge 6421. He says it like a closure line. The man nods once, filing it away. Man, appreciate it. I want the supervisor on duty now. Kellen swings the small gate open and guides him into the secondary lane. Stainless table, glove box, swab kits. A posted placard, random selection, cooperation required. It reads like a policy shield. To the right edge of frame, the white female officer, early 30s, blonde bun, watches without speaking. Neutral face, but her eyes are on the man's hands and Kellen's decisions, not the equipment. Officer, jacket on the table, empty your pockets. Quick wand and swab. Man, I'll comply, but we're staying inside protocol. You're going to state each step and why. Kellen tries to keep the cadence steady, but the man's control is changing the power dynamic. This isn't a scared passenger. This is someone who knows what cause and scope mean. The man removes his light gray bomber jacket, folds it neatly, and places it on the table. Keys, wallet, cable, everything laid out like evidence, not clutter. He keeps his phone in his hand, camera pointed outward. Officer. Phone goes in the tray. Man, cite the rule. I'm recording my interaction with public officials in a public concourse. Silence, the kind that turns policy into politics. Kellen's jaw tightens. He glances to the silent female officer, then makes a decision that's more about control than safety. Officer, stop recording, it interferes with security operations. Man, then show me the written restriction. On camera, The female officer finally moves, no words, just action. She steps to a wall phone and dials, posture rigid, face still blank. Escalation rooted. Kellen pulls out the handheld wand. Officer, arms out. Feet apart. The man complies immediately, palms open. No sudden moves. He's giving them zero leverage to reframe this as non-compliance. Kellen sweeps the wand down the hoodie, along the waistband, around the pockets. Nothing. He repeats at the ankle, still nothing. The bodycam audio picks up Kellen's exhale, frustration masked as procedure. He reaches for a swab strip and extends his bare hand toward the man's palm. Man. Gloves on before contact. Kellen freezes, caught skipping a basic control. He pulls on gloves fast, a little too fast, then swabs the man's hands with more pressure than necessary. Man, easy, you don't need to make a point. You need to follow process. The female officer returns with a third person in tow, a tall white man, late 40s, salt and pepper hair, supervisor vest over a polo. He walks in like he's already writing the report in his head. He stops at the boundary line and looks past Kellen straight to the man. Supervisor, I'm shift lead Grant Huxley, what's going on? The man's voice stays level, but it's sharper now, executive calm. Man. What's going on is you've called this random twice, but nobody can articulate a trigger. So here's the plan, either you state the governing policy and finish this clean, or we treat this as a profiling complaint with witnesses and timestamps. Kellen's shoulders stiffen. The supervisor's expression doesn't change yet. And that's when the swab test unit starts to chirp. The swab machine chirps again, sharp, insistent. A tiny screen flashes a warning code that means nothing to most passengers but becomes a magic word to anyone who wants leverage. Officer Kellen leans in as if the device just handed him permission. Officer, we got a hit. The black man doesn't move, doesn't flinch, just tilts his head slightly, eyes narrowing at the screen. Man, a hit on what? Be specific. False positives happen all day. Hand sanitizer, lotion, airport surfaces. Tell me the substance class. Shift lead Huxley steps closer, careful not to look excited. His tone is corporate calm, like he's trying to keep the situation inside the building. Supervisor, sir, it's a presumptive alarm. It means we continue screening, that's all. The man nods once like he expected that exact dodge. Man, so you're escalating based on a presumptive tool after calling me random twice. That's convenient. Kellen reaches for the man's phone with a gloved hand, half reflex, half power move. Officer. Put the phone away. The man pulls it back, still steady, still controlled. Man, no, I'm not interfering, I'm documenting. And for the record, you just tried to seize my property without stating authority. The blonde female officer remains silent, eyes moving between Kellen's hand and the supervisor's face. She's watching choices, not people. Huxley shifts, recalibrating his approach. Supervisor, we can do this the easy way. Cooperate and you'll be on your way. Man, I am cooperating. I'm also making sure this doesn't get buried under vague language later. Kellen points at the man's backpack, dark canvas, clean, not overstuffed. Officer, bag is getting hand searched. Electronics out. The man sets the phone down on the table, camera still facing them. He unzips the bag slowly and lays items out like a checklist. Laptop, charger, slim folder, a small leather card case. Everything looks deliberate, organized, professional. Kellen opens the folder first, papers, printed schedules, a few stamped documents. He flips them faster than he should, eyes scanning for something he can label suspicious. Man. Careful with that, some of that is confidential. Kellen pauses just long enough to show he heard him, then keeps going anyway. Huxley leans in. Supervisor, confidential how? The man watches them, expression controlled, voice firm. Man, legally confidential. That's when Kellen picks up the small leather card case. He opens it like he's expecting a credit card, then the camera catches his face change. Not dramatic, but unmistakable. A quick drain of color, a tightening at the mouth. He turns the open case slightly toward Huxley. Inside, an official credential card with an embossed seal, a photo, and a title line that makes the air shift. Huxley's eyes lock onto it. His posture stiffens, the kind of stiff that happens when someone realizes they're standing on a landmine. Kellen clears his throat. Officer, sir, you didn't mention you were this. The man's eyes don't leave them. Man. I didn't think I needed a title to be treated like everyone else. A couple of travelers have stopped fully now. The background blur slows. You can hear the distant airport PA announcement, muffled and irrelevant compared to what's unfolding at this table. Huxley takes a breath, tries to steer the ship back into calm water. Supervisor, credentials don't exempt anyone from screening. The man nods, almost approving, like he agrees with the principal, then he sharpens the point. Man. Correct, they don't exempt me, but they do mean you just created a documented incident with a person who knows the law and how to audit every second of this. Kellen tries to salvage authority. Officer. We still have to complete the process. Man, then complete it inside policy, because if you step outside it again, this doesn't stay in this checkpoint. Huxley glances toward the silent blonde officer, like checking if the room has an adult who will back him. She gives nothing, just a neutral stare that says, "You own the call." Huxley makes the wrong call. "Supervisor, continue the search thoroughly." Kellen's eyes flicker, relief, maybe permission. He turns back to the laptop. "Officer, power it on." The man's jaw tightens. For the first time, you see a crack of anger, controlled but real. "Man, you don't have legal authority to open my work files." Kellen lifts his chin. "Officer, then you can refuse and we can delay you." It's a clean threat in corporate wrapping. "Comply or miss your flight." The man looks at the bodycam, then at the phone still recording on the table, then back to Huxley. "Man, say that again." Slowly. On camera, and Huxley, trying to project control, repeats it, making sure everyone hears. "Supervisor, if you don't cooperate, you may not be cleared to travel today." The line lands like a hammer. Because now it's not just a search. It's coercion with witnesses, timestamps, and a credential they wish they'd never seen. The laptop sits on the stainless table like a hostage. Officer Kellen taps the lid twice with a gloved finger, impatient, performing authority for the little crowd that started to form behind the stanchions. The bodycam HUD ticks forward. Rec black circle 6:12 a.m. Battery icon drops a bar. Small location tag, Cedar Ridge Intel Terminal 2. "Officer, power it on now." The man holds Kellen's gaze, then looks deliberately at Shift Lead Huxley. "Man, I'm complying under pressure." "You're not getting consent, you're getting a record." Huxley doesn't blink. "Supervisor, noted, proceed." The man types his password with controlled, minimal motions, no shaking hands, no panic. The screen lights up. Kellen leans in too close, like proximity equals permission. "Man, you're going to stay on the desktop, you're not opening folders." Kellen clicks anyway. A few files pop up. The bodycam can't read everything clearly, but the man's reaction says enough. His eyes narrow, jaw tight, shoulders squared like a courtroom door just slammed. "Man, that's privileged material." Kellen keeps scrolling, pretending he's searching for something dangerous. It's not a security check anymore. It's phishing. The silent blonde officer, still wordless, shifts her stance. She's closer now, but she doesn't intervene. Neutral face, arms relaxed, eyes sharp, observing, documenting in her own way. A traveler behind the stanchion speaks under their breath, loud enough to carry. "Bystander, they don't do that to anyone else." Another phone rises in the background, then another. The scene is becoming its own evidence package. Huxley notices. He tries to pull the temperature down without giving up control. "Supervisor, sir, if you cooperate, we'll finish faster." The man doesn't take the bait. "Man, faster isn't the KPI. Lawful is." Kellen closes the laptop at last, too late to pretend nothing happened. He pivots to the backpack again, digs deeper, and finds nothing but normal life. Charging cables, a small toiletry kit, a book with sticky notes, neatly folded receipts. No threat, no contraband, no justification for what they've already done. Then Kellen spots a slim envelope in the side pocket and pulls it out like it's a trophy. "Officer, what's this?" The man's voice drops half an octave. "Man, put it back." Kellen pauses, waiting for Huxley to authorize the next step. Huxley nods, subtle but clear. Kellen opens the envelope. Inside are documents with official headers. Kellen's eyes skim lines he shouldn't be reading. Huxley angles his head, trying to see. The man watches both of them like he's memorizing faces for a sworn statement. "Man, that's a violation. You are not permitted to review my case materials at a checkpoint." Huxley finally tries a different angle, one that sounds reasonable on paper. "Supervisor, we're verifying there's no security risk." "Man, by reading legal documents, that's not verification, that's intrusion." Kellen looks up, annoyed that the man won't play the usual role of grateful passenger. "Officer, you're making this harder than it needs to be." The man's response is ice cold and clean. "Man, no, you did. The minute you turned random into targeted, you made it hard." A boarding announcement blares in the distance. The man doesn't even glance toward it. That's the moment Kellen realizes this passenger isn't scared of missing a flight. He's willing to miss it for a bigger outcome. The man reaches into his pocket, pulls out a pen, and writes on the back of a receipt, calm, methodical. "Man, I need your incident report number." Huxley stiffens. "Supervisor, there may not be a report." The man looks up slowly. "Man, then you're going to create one. Because you just escalated a screening based on a vague swab alert, attempted to stop recording, and accessed restricted work materials. That doesn't disappear because you say random." He points, open hand, not aggressive, toward the cameras overhead. "Man, and I'll be requesting footage from every angle that covers this table." Huxley's face tightens. Kellen's eyes flick to the crowd, then back to the man, like he's realizing the room has shifted. Because now this isn't a traveler trying to make a flight. This is someone building a case right in front of them. The supervisor tries to reset the scene the way institutions always do, by shrinking it. Huxley steps half a pace back, palms open, voice smoothing into customer service. "Supervisor, sir, you're cleared, you can proceed to your gate." A clean exit line, no apology, no admission. Just a push to move the problem out of frame. The man doesn't move. He zips his backpack slowly, deliberately, like every second is a receipt being printed. Man, I'm not leaving until I have documentation. Kellen's shoulders rise a fraction, irritation, and the bodycam catches the subtle shift from security to ego. Officer. You've been screened, that's the documentation. The man looks at him, calm enough to be terrifying. Man, that's not how this works. I want an incident number and I want the name of the security director for this terminal. Huxley's face tightens. He knows that name request isn't casual, it's escalation. Supervisor, you can file a complaint online. Man, I will today, but I'm also documenting your refusal to provide basic reporting information. Kellen leans in again, too close, trying to reclaim ground. Officer, are you refusing to leave the area? That's the line, the one that turns a policy dispute into a compliance trap. The man lifts his phone slightly so the camera catches Kellen's face. Man, I'm not refusing lawful instruction. I'm requesting process, and I'm standing in a public space, not breaching a sterile area. The blonde female officer remains silent, but she shifts her weight, subtle tension in her stance, like she can feel where this is heading. Her expression stays neutral, but her eyes say she's tracking every word. A bystander, older white man in a blazer, speaks up from behind the stanchion. Bystander, he's being respectful. Why are you pushing him? Huxley snaps a glance toward the crowd, not anger, risk assessment. Bad optics are starting to stack. He makes a move to contain it. Supervisor. Ma'am, he gestures vaguely toward the silent female officer. Can you help clear the lane? She doesn't respond verbally. She just steps slightly to the side, body positioned as a barrier without looking like one. Still not participating, still enabling. The man watches that too, man. She hasn't said a single word, but she's been here the whole time. I want her name as well. Huxley exhales, forced into compliance with a basic request. Supervisor, Officer Dana Sloan. Kellen mutters under his breath, Officer, this is ridiculous. The man doesn't bite. Man, no. Ridiculous is calling me random, then threatening to delay my travel unless I let you open my work materials. He points open palm at the laptop. Man, and you did open them. I watched you click through files you had zero justification to touch. Huxley's voice drops, attempting authority again. Supervisor, we're done here. The man nods once. Man, then it'll be quick. Give me the incident report number. Huxley hesitates. Then he tries a pivot, take it out of the lane, out of sight. Supervisor, we can discuss this in the office. The man's eyes harden. Man, no closed rooms. Not after what just happened. We stay on camera. That sentence changes the atmosphere. The crowd grows by two more people. You can hear the soft tap of someone starting a recording. Kellen's tone sharpens. Officer. Sir, you're creating a disturbance. The man's voice stays level, professional, precise. Man, I'm creating accountability. There's a difference. Huxley realizes the lane is becoming a stage and stages have consequences. He finally reaches into a pocket and pulls out a small notepad card, scribbling, Supervisor, incident reference, SR2-1189. The man repeats it out loud, clearly, for the phone's microphone. Man, SR2-1189, 6:18 a.m., Cedar Ridge International. Officer Miles Kellen, badge 6421. Shift lead Grant Huxley. Officer Dana Sloan present. He looks up at them, calm as a final ruling. Man, now we're aligned. If you thought this would evaporate, it won't. Huxley tries to end it one more time, firm, clipped. Supervisor. Proceed to your gate. The man slips his jacket on, gathers his things, and steps forward, then stops and turns back, eyes on Huxley. Man, one more question. Who reviews complaints here internally? Huxley doesn't like it. But he answers. Supervisor, passenger relations, terminal security admin. The man nods like he's just confirmed a suspicion. He walks away, but not in a hurry, not panicked, not defeated. And that's when Kellen says the worst possible thing quietly, thinking the bodycam won't pick it up. Officer Lowe, every time same story. The man stops mid-step, his head turns slowly. Man, say that again. Kellen freezes. Because now the problem isn't policy, it's pattern. Kellen's mouth stays half open, like he can still pretend the words didn't come out. The bodycam audio, compressed but clear, hangs on the phrase. Officer Lowe. Every time same story. The black man steps back toward the table, not aggressive, not loud, just certain, like he's walking back into a room where he already owns the facts. Man. What did you mean by every time? Huxley jumps in fast, attempting to cut the wire before it sparks. Supervisor, officer, that's enough, sir, you're cleared, please proceed. The man doesn't even look at Huxley now. His eyes are locked on Kellen. Man, no, he said every time. That's not a one-off comment, that's a habit. Kellen's chest rises, he tries to reframe. Officer, I meant people argue about screening. That's all? The man tilts his phone slightly, making sure Kellen's face is centered. Man, then say it clean, what kind of people argue? Kellen's eyes flick toward the silent blonde officer Dana Sloan, as if hoping she'll bail him out. She gives him nothing, neutral face, no rescue. Huxley changes tactics. He turns to the crowd. Supervisor, folks, keep moving. This is an active security area. But the crowd doesn't fully move. Because everyone's seen the same movie before and they don't want to miss the ending, the man's voice stays controlled. Man, I'm going to ask you one more time, clarify your remark. On the record, Kellen shifts his weight, irritation slipping through. Officer, sir, don't twist my words. Man, then don't hand me words that twist themselves. A beat. Huxley sees the lane turning into a liability and goes for the only play he has left. Shut it down with authority. Supervisor, if you don't leave the area, I will have you removed. The man nods slowly as if he's been waiting for that exact sentence. Man, perfect. That's a retaliatory threat for requesting documentation. He gestures open hand to the overhead cameras and the bodycam. Man, you've now escalated to coercion twice, once with the laptop, once with removal. That's not security. That's control. Huxley's jaw tightens, realizing he just added another timestamp to the man's case file. The man steps half a pace toward the stanchions and addresses the bystanders without raising his voice, just projecting enough to be heard. Man, if anyone recorded any of this, I'd like your contact info. I may need witness statements. A woman in a navy blazer nods and moves closer, pulling a business card from her bag. A younger guy in earbuds lifts his phone slightly, signaling he's been recording. Two more people hesitate, then follow. Huxley watches the witness list forming and makes a quick call in his head. Stop the bleeding. Supervisor. Officer Kellen, wrap it up. Kellen clenches his jaw, clearly unhappy, and hands the backpack back across the table like it's a chore. Officer, you're free to go. The man takes it but doesn't step away yet. He looks at Huxley one last time. Man, I want the name of the terminal security administrator you mentioned, full name. Huxley tries to dodge, then realizes dodging looks worse now. Supervisor. Carter Wynn, the man repeats it out loud for the phone. Man, Carter Wynn, got it. He turns to leave again, and this time he does move toward the concourse, but the bodycam catches something else. Huxley pulling Kellen aside, speaking in a tight whisper that still leaks into the mic. Supervisor Lowe, what were you thinking? He's not some random traveler. Kellen's whisper comes back, edged with bitterness. Officer Lowe, doesn't matter who he is. They all play the same game. Come through looking like money, acting like rules don't apply. Dana Sloan's eyes flicker just once, the smallest sign of discomfort. Then her face goes blank again. The man stops near the end of the lane. He doesn't turn around this time. He just stands still, listening, letting the words hang. And then he walks off, calm, purposeful, toward a bank of seats near the gates, but he doesn't head for boarding. He heads for a quiet corner with strong Wi-Fi, because this isn't about catching a flight anymore. This is about launching an escalation. Minutes later, he's seated with his phone out, typing with speed that suggests this isn't his first time building a formal record. He composes an email to the airport authority, attaches the incident reference SR2-1189, and includes a short, lethal summary. Random selection, claimed with no articulated trigger, attempted interference with recording search escalation based on presumptive swab alarm, coerced device access, under threat of travel delay, unauthorized review of restricted work materials, retaliatory threat of removal for requesting documentation, pattern language captured on officer audio. Every time. They all. He sends it to passenger relations. Then he forwards it to a second address, when he doesn't say out loud, but the bodycam catches the contact name on the screen for half a second as it reflects off the polished floor. Office of Civil Rights Compliance. Finally, he opens a new message thread and adds 3 witness emails he collected at the stanchions. He pauses, looks up at the terminal traffic moving like nothing happened. Then he starts making calls, not to complain, to initiate an investigation. By 9:40 a.m., the complaint thread wasn't in review anymore, it was in escalation. A reply hit his inbox from Civil Rights Compliance with a case number, then a second message from the airport authorities' legal team asking him to preserve all recordings and witness contacts. Translation, they see litigation risk in their triaging exposure. He didn't waste cycles debating tone. He built a tight evidence packet, incident reference SR2-1189, the exact time window 6:05-6:21, the names, the quotes, the laptop access, the threat language. Then he anchored it to the one thing institutions can't spin forever pattern. Within 48 hours, an investigator from the State Civil Rights Bureau requested every camera angle covering Terminal 2's secondary lane. A week later, the airport police chief quietly reassigned Officer Miles Kellen and shift lead Grant Huxley pending review. It was meant to look like routine risk management. It didn't. Because the footage wasn't just one ugly interaction. Analysts pulled 3 months of secondary screening logs and overlaid them with passenger demographics. The disparity wasn't subtle. Black and Latino travelers dressed professional were being routed to random at multiples above everyone else. The internal dashboard even had a nickname for it: proactive lane hygiene, corporate euphemism with real-world damage. Then the email trail surfaced. Carter Wynn, the terminal security administrator, had been closing complaints with copy-paste language, no witness outreach, no video review. Worse, he'd been coaching supervisors on wording. One message: avoid admitting selection criteria. Another: keep the narrative focused on cooperation. The system wasn't broken, it was tuned. That's when Dana Sloan stopped being silent. She requested counsel, then provided a statement: no drama, just facts. She confirmed Kellen and Huxley routinely picked the ones who looked like they'd argue, and supervisors framed it as efficiency. That didn't just validate the claim, it put intent on the record. The airport tried the standard playbook: apology, training, announcement, promised audit. He declined the PR meeting and stayed in legal lanes. His counsel filed in federal court on equal protection and unlawful search claims, with witness affidavits attached and time-stamped clips queued. The optics were bad, the evidence was worse. They settled before trial, $6.2 million plus a binding reform package. Kellen and Huxley were terminated. Wynn was referred for prosecution on civil rights and obstruction exposure. He took a plea and got 14 months. The airport agreed to third-party oversight, mandatory bias training with measurable benchmarks, and quarterly reporting on secondary search rates by lane and shift. No more trust us, hard metrics. He donated his share to a travel rights nonprofit and funded a hotline for passengers who get profiled at checkpoints. The win wasn't the money, it was the operating model change, and it spread. 2 nearby airports launched their own audits the next quarter because nobody wanted to be the next headline. If you've ever been hit with a random that didn't feel random, drop what happened in the comments: city, year, and how it played out. The more receipts people share, the harder it is for systems to hide behind policy language.